Okay, sorry. So just to give a backstory, I'm going to talk about how I was as a child. My parents told me that when I was a child, I was extremely caring. So when it came to family members, I would believe that oil for some reason was like a remedy to heal someone. I don't know why. And there was just this one instance that my grandfather, he gashed his knee, and for some reason I had like a little bottle of oil that I called it my healing oil. And I used to run like a 5-year-old, just run to the kitchen, get my little tiny purse, and believe that that would heal him. And then that I grew up more, and then I started to become very addicted to stuffed animals. And my mother used to tell me that I used to believe that stuffed animals had feelings. So every night she would always tell me, you have to choose 3 stuffed animals to sleep with. And I always used to cry thinking I'm hurting the other stuffed animals' feelings. And so my mom, she started to see this this whole idea of caring when I grew up. And then going into high school, I used to be a person that, everyone has confronted it, that you see people that go into bad paths. And for some reason, even though people had gone to these paths, a lot of the times my mom used to believe that I would fall into that path, but actually I would help people get out of it. And then it came to learning that I had a learning disability, and I was diagnosed with ADD. And a lot of the teachers told me, you know what, you can't really go to university. You're not really, at a level, and I'll show you why. And they would pull up my whole entire file and go over all my marks, tell me all the things that I can't do. And she just threw me a book and said, you need to go to college. And I go, okay, sure. So all the time that my mom, because my mom has been a huge role model for me, she always told me, you know what, you have to advocate for yourself. You're not supposed to let these people, although they're big, you can't let them define your life. So I said, okay. And then I found child youth care. And care was like the key word for me. I'm like, well, I'm caring. Like, I really want to get into that. And I came into my first year and I loved it. I was so passionate about everything. And I just created this. So I have a lot of metaphorical examples with this cake that I have. Just show everyone. So I made like a garden, which all of you will get a piece of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah. Bonus points.
So I would say that my first year I had all these goals, and I would represent seeds as goals. That you come in, I was so hopeful because I felt like coming in, I was thinking, I have all these goals. I don't want to let no one tell me otherwise. And it was a really big step for me because me having a learning disability, I have a file at home that I have to give in order to receive resources in school. And I told my mom, you know what, I'm going to take a risk, and I don't want to give that file. I don't want to live, people underestimating me, and I feel like that file has, stopped me from doing things that I wish that I wanted to do. But of course, some people, it's a resource, which is not bad as well. But I just really wanted to see how I was without it. So I came into first year, and I sowed a lot of seeds of goals and ambition, and I've been inspired by so many things, and that's why I did roses, because I have a fondness for roses because I feel like it represents so much love and care. And then my second year, I put carrots because with placement you begin to see things, and like carrots, when you eat them, apparently gives you better vision. So I thought of that, and getting into placement, I was so happy to think, I'm going to go in and people are going to, be nice to me and amazing. And it did happen. I had a good supervisor until I had to transition. And I would say that, for all of us, we've been taken advantage of at times by supervisors, and they see us as people doing the dirty work. And once again, I told my mom, you know, I feel like I'm giving up because I feel like they're not seeing me to my full potential. And she told me, you know what? Take advantage of people that take advantage of you, because at the end of the day, you're going to be prepared. And I'm like, I guess you're right. And, you know, I had to do a lot of paperwork, all the things that people didn't want to do. And my mom always told me, go in there and smile and do it. And I did that. And after that, I got really good recommendations for placement. A lot of people had amazing things to say about me, and even the supervisor that I felt like she was just giving me a lot of her dirty work, she just told me, you know what, you've never really complained about anything I've given you, and I really admire that from you, and I felt really good to hear that. Then I did this third row, and they're bigger strawberries. I would say that my third placement in the school, I felt like I was going back to the child that I was, which was a child that confronted a lot of teachers that underestimated me. And I dealt with a lot of kids who had learning disabilities, and a lot of teachers were very burnt out. And I had one child that I was working with, and I felt like he was teaching me a lot. And that's why I did this garden, because I feel that all of us as CYCs, we sow these seeds, and the children are the water. They are what water our goals and our inspiration as child youth care workers. And there's just this one child, a lot of teachers were just so burnt out. And I decided to see this child as myself. And literally, every time I spoke with him, the way he responded back is exactly what I would say to my teacher. And I just saw him as, you know, a person that just needed a lot of inspirational help. And now that I'm ending placement, I told this child, you know what, like, I'm going to be leaving soon. And I saw the impact I, you know, made over his life, because he started to actually almost cry. And he told me, Mrs. Kim, you've helped me so much, and I'm going to miss you. Who's going to help me? And I told him, like, well, you know how to do your work on your own now. Because now he doesn't even ask for help. Like, you know, he knows how to do it on his own. And a lot of kids that were treated differently, I was always that, you know, CYC to treat them that, like, they're unique. So I also am very spiritual, and I went into this placement that they're Judaism. And it was really nice to even talk about God with some of the kids. Like, their idea of, and their conception of God was very nice to hear, because I myself am very spiritual, and that's why I also did this garden, because I remember one time just going to church, and our pastor was saying we need to bear fruit, we need to bear love and humility and kindness. And you start to think, and I'm like, you know what, that's like CYC, that we have to bear fruit of love, kindness, and humility to children. And a lot of the kids need a lot of love. And you could show love not, you know, maybe by a physical hug, but even just helping them to pursue their goals. And then I did a cake, because as CYCs, we share experiences. And obviously I'm gonna cut up the cake and give it to all of you. And I've got that inspiration with Mamie, because she's in placement with me. And we always bring food, and we're always sharing and talking about our experiences. And that's why I decided to do this cake. And that's how I see CYC. And that one teacher that told me you'll never go to university, well, next year I'm going to university. So I'm going to be doing Ryerson. I'm going to be doing the BA for Child Youth Care. So I felt like I've really not only showed that person, because obviously I don't see that person anymore, but I showed myself that I could do it. And that's all.
And in junior school, I had two teachers who had told my parents the same thing. I didn't know that I wouldn't graduate. So what my mother did was send them my diploma and my degree. So what you can do is send them your diploma and your degree, and just because it is a friendly reminder to remind people never to make those kind of statements, because it's just not fair. So. Okay, so which one of you? There you go. Yay!